this is one of the days when, when I woke up this morning, I had this joyful feeling of just being alive. All the anticipation of the day, all the things happening, and today our topic is about joy and gratitude. What happens when you're on the wet side of Eden, as Colleen would be calling it, and or finding that balance. And when we reach the summit in our journey, we've been talking about breathing in the view, and so here we're taking a pause to breathe in the view and to celebrate the triumphant journey. We've made it to the summit. Now we have another valley that we're going to cross and another peak to climb, but we're on the summit right now. And this is a time to celebrate with joy, right? And the holidays do that. I have memories of Thanksgiving past when the whole family got together, gathering when I was a child. They gathered from wherever they were. Everyone was in somewhere in Virginia except for my family. We were the black sheep. We'd moved 250 miles away to Baltimore, Maryland, and but we would gather with every year for Thanksgiving and for Christmas. So we had lots of aunts and uncles and quite a few grandmothers and grandfathers that came from different families, and my sister and 7 other cousins. So it was always a big bash, and we got to be together, right, as a part of the family. Now, when we moved across country to Denver, my mother always made sure that there was a few close friends or people that were going to be alone that Thanksgiving that came to be with us that day. When I went away to college in California, this was my first time away from home, and it felt really uncomfortable and so forth. But one of my classmates invited me to a home nearby, and there were 20 other students there. And we had the fabulous potluck, and I learned that you can make your own family as we move along in life. We choose our family as we go along in life, and that has some advantages as we go along. But now, family is a time to see family, to cook and eat and good food, and just reflect on the many blessings in our lives, right? My son Elliot and his fiancée Andrea are coming on Wednesday. I haven't gotten to see them for 2 years. I've seen them on FaceTime, but not in person. And Jed and his wife Michelle are coming too. That's Michael's youngest son. So, but there's 6 other family members we haven't seen, right, of our kids. So, but from our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, he said, Thanksgiving is more than a day to serve turkey and dressing and eat brown gravy on mashed potatoes, but it really means that we should be grateful for life, that we should praise the giver of all good, and that we should gratefully acknowledge the priceless heritage of a free and noble people. Now, this year, it's a special holiday. It's been a long journey for many of us, and we recognize how grateful we are for some of the little things that we always have taken for granted, right? And I feel joyful as we complete this triumphant journey. We've journeyed safely through the COVID pandemic, right? Although I have sadness and compassion for the families that did lose someone that they loved over the last few years, and that can't be replaced. But we're in it together, and we're here. We're all vaccinated, and we bring our masks to be safe here together. And the ones that are not, they're joining us on Zoom, because that's their way of being safe and still being part of our spiritual community. I also, by going deeper within in that quiet time, I have a greater sense of connection with the infinite invisible presence of spirit within me and within all people, right? I have a greater sense of purpose and the higher possibilities I didn't even anticipate that for my life and for the center and for the world, all the challenges that we're going through. And so this morning, I'd like to focus on how gratitude, joy, and vision of what's possible can be tools for our own spiritual growth and transformation. Now, in the reading that Michael had this morning, he talked about gratitude is as a causative power, right? It does more for us actually than the person that's receiving it. It's good things there too, and Ernest Holmes has said this about gratitude. Gratitude is the practice of the realization that all good has already been provided. Gratitude is more than a resultant emotion. It is a causative energy that reveals the ever-present abundance of the universe. Right? So when we give gratitude for something, we have to have actually received it. We have to have noticed it. That's what we're focusing on. And what we focus on grows. We know that from our experience. And that's one of the basic parts of metaphysics, right? That what we focus on grows. And so with gratitude, we focus on it and we accept it, right? We realize that it's there. And in times of darkness and in light, we see God as our infinite, always generous, and abundant source of all things. That's a constant, whether the light is dark or light, right? And we also can see the new and greater possibilities, find our way out of the maze when we're stuck there, because light, the light from spirit is always there from within and from high up to guide us through it, through the voices of others. Whatever pathway God needs, it's provided. And we also learn to see that we have choices to make. I think Colleen was alluding to this. When we get in these dark situations, there's an open door somewhere that God has provided for us when we can move forward. So we always can turn within and see that presence of God waiting there for us to recognize it. It's ready to love us, to support us, to guide us. And so in Thanksgiving, we are giving gratitude for this inner presence and for the goodness that is throughout our life, recognizing it, accepting it, and releasing our fears and worries to allow it to grow and blossom in our lives. From Ernest Holmes in the Science of Mind textbook in the glossary, he says, it has been said that the prayer of thanksgiving is the prayer of appropriation. This was the manner in which Jesus prayed when he raised Lazarus from the tomb. Father, I thank thee. Recognition, unification, and realization are the first three steps in prayer or treatment. And then when we speak the words of thanksgiving, the fourth step, to the God within, knowing before they ask, will I answer? Before I ask, because God, there's no time or space in God, right? So there's something in this attitude of thanksgiving that carries us beyond the field of doubt into one of the perfect faith, acceptance, receptivity, and realization. Appreciation, gratitude, and thanksgiving are the motive power which attracts and magnifies the hidden potentialities of life, Holmes concludes. So we talked about the recognition, unification, realization as the first three steps of treatment, and that's shorthands to say recognize that God is all there is. Unification means I am unified with God, one with God. And then realization is realizing the truth of what it is that we desire in our life. How, God is always pouring out the blessings. And so we say, okay, this is the mold of what I would like to accept right here and now. This is what, I'm letting go of what has been, and I'm creating this new intention. And then the fourth step is thanksgiving, to accept it. We don't have to, we always in treatment, we always say, not it will happen in the future. We say it is happening now. It is unfolding now. There's no delay. It happens right now, instantaneously. And it begins to unfold. Sometimes in the physical world, it might take a little bit of time to evolve, but it is unfolding right now. So when you say thank you, it means you've accepted that manifestation as received without a doubt, right? Now, it also represents a shift from believing that you lack something you desire in your life to believing that God, the infinite invisible, is manifesting good things in your life for you and through you and as you, right? It is that infinite invisible greater power that is doing this. There was one of my favorite stories, I've mentioned it before, but Reverend Dorwin Williams, who was the minister in Reno when I became a practitioner, She didn't have time for a lot of haranguing about. People would come into her office and want to complain about whatever, and they'd go on and if you were lucky, you got 5 minutes to talk about it, and then she'd say, "What do you want?" And so one time I went in and we were having some challenges paying for our house, and she said, "Oh, that's it. That's what." And so she said, "Thank you, God, for Pam's perfect home, and so it is." It's like, that was a little short. I'm used to these wonderful flowery treatments, and you go through the five. And but what really matters is that you get to that point of consciousness of knowing. And thank you is one of those powerful words that gets you right there. When you say thank you, it's in your hands. Right? You know that it is divinely given and received. Now, another thing that happens with gratitude is that it creates a sense of unity. We are all being grateful for this one source, that we are all part of that one source. And so it also shifts our attitude about any situation, about what's going on. And so in the Ernest Holmes wrote a little pamphlet called Relationship Between Love and Gratitude. And this is what he has to say. My gratitude to you draws from your gratitude towards me, and there would be a perfect union between us. It means a true spiritual family of love, support, compassion, and respect. If I showed gratitude to you, it would draw gratitude from you towards me, and there would be a perfect union between us. I think I did that twice. Anyway, it would mean the true brotherhood and sisterhood of humanity, a real brotherhood and sisterhood. So it's going back and forth. When I give gratitude, it shifts you, and when you give gratitude, it shifts me, because there's these ripple effects that go out. So it starts with us and ripples throughout the universe. Now, the shifting to gratitude is a very powerful choice. When in our family, particularly when my husband was ill with my first husband with cancer for 5 years. There were some times when it was pretty difficult and stressful around the home, and my kids were young, and let's see, Elliot was 3 when his dad was diagnosed, and Gabriella was not quite 7. So the next 5 years for them were very stressful. So all of this stuff going on and all that craziness. So we started a tradition that we would get a bucket of marbles that was full and an empty bucket. And so when we had one of those days where everybody was crowning the walls, we would sit down and we would each say 5 things that we were grateful for, or raise and praise someone else at the table. So you can. So the first time it was a lot more harder than the others, but once we started it as a tradition, people would learn to do that, because then, oh, they're saying nice things about me. Oh, this feels good. And then they would say nice things about someone else, and they say, I didn't know that you noticed that. Something that I've been working really hard at. And, to have your kids stop and say thank you was like, ooh, this is, it lowered the level. It got us all in that unity of knowing that we're one, that we're all a part of this life, where this is a family that loves each other. And that's who we are. We remembered with gratitude. So we still have that tradition when we have Thanksgiving dinner together. We haven't found the marbles after the move yet, but we'll still be going around the table and saying what we're grateful for. So another thing about gratitude and about this journey is joy. It's important to celebrate. Teilhard de Chardin, he says, joy is the infallible sign of the presence of God. Right? When I'm meditating and I have one of those times when it's just wonderfully, I know that God is all there is, really, really. It's just such a joyful feeling. I don't have a care in the world at that moment, right? And it's just, it can't be stuffed down. It's just that joy that has to come out. And and when we constructively praise and creatively bless, this is another quote from Ernest Holmes. When we constructively praise and creatively bless, life abounds with love, peace, and joy. Let us so live and think that we may retire at night in peace, knowing that no harm can come to the soul, that we may rise in the morning renewed in body and in mind, with a brighter outlook, a happier expectation, and a clearer joy. And everything give thanks, right? And that's what we're doing today, right? Giving thanks. And so as we let that gratitude think into our consciousness and that feeling of joy arises, um, there's a man named Ralph Marston wrote a book called The Daily Motivator to Go. And he said, with an attitude of gratitude, you'll realize that you already do have it all. Everything you could ever desire is already inside of you. Appreciate it, love it, nurture it enough so that it is fully expressed in your life. You know, we live from the inside out. We have something first in our minds and our hearts and accept it, and then it's manifest. In our center, we are going through a lot of changes this year as well. And last year, what did we do for Thanksgiving? We had a little drive-through over here, right? And I remember Luna was there, and her mom and some other people, and we had pie to share, and we had some cookies, homemade cookies, and we got to at least see each other and wave. Some people just stayed in their car. That was, and we all had masks on, but we didn't really, we didn't have any vaccines then, right? So, but we wanted to give thanks and be together. So this year, we get to have a Thanksgiving potluck. We're vaccinated, we've got masks, we're doing what we need to do to be safe, and still praying and trusting. And also we've gone through our good to great vision. All of that, all the time and energy that was spent listening to Spirit and working through all of the words to the vision that's come through, and the vision that the purpose is love, but the vision that we had before just evolved a little bit from what it had been for more than a decade before. And so the current vision is embracing all and serving with love while awakening to the one. And that's the essence of who we are. People, this is one thing that some people that were at the Ananda retreat said, it's such a welcoming community. They feel that love that's here, that binds us together. And that's the truth of who we are. And that's our strength, right? That's how God manifests here. And so in the vision, we also have what we're passionate about, what we're best at, and our resource engine, and it also united us and aligned us with our vision. And so as we are working on our plans, what we're going to do now that we're going to be able to be together, what are we going to do that aligns with that vision? What does Spirit intend for us to do? We're listening. We also, when we had some things, there were some hiccups with our cash flow at one point during the year. And so we used the co-creation group healing process to listen and say, these words of lack that were coming up, where did that come from? That's not what's true. So we found instead the words of faith, of the divine truth, of abundance. And like that, the cash flow went back to the abundant flow. Right. And so it's in the law of circulation is, it's giving and receiving. Each one of us is a part of that together. We give to the center, and the center gives out to support us as individuals in the community, and it ripples out. Right. That's who we are. One of the things I'm really grateful for is the continued commitment of the leaders, the practitioners, and the members of our center. So we've had financial stability, and people are stepping up. They're committed. The board spends a lot of time and energy. The musicians we have every week, they're just they're fabulous, right? They spend a lot of time. And but some CSL centers and churches, when they went on Zoom or couldn't go on Zoom, they've closed their doors. There's not as many centers now as there were a year ago, which is sad. So, but we're here, we're vibrant, and we're doing well. And we're supported by this beautiful building that our tenant upstairs helps us pay for, and Pat Tidy and her gift. And so we're blessed from so many places. And we've got some ideas. We want to go ahead and fix up the parking lot and do some more things this year. And so, there's some things that are coming forward to make that happen. So we're excited about it. and mostly we provided that spiritual support. This is all the purpose of all of these things, is to manifest spirit as our center. So we have a lot to be grateful for in our thriving spiritual centers. So we celebrate with joy and give thanks to all of you and to Spirit, who is the ultimate source, right? So we're living from our vision, our true identity as an expression of the divine, of the invisible presence within us. And as for me, many answers were revealed this year, as always, as I made that journey inward and discovered at an even deeper level this year, right? That Spirit is always there within my heart, closer than my breath, really, loving me, guiding me, and expressing itself as me. Whenever I feel stuck, well, guess who's stuck? If I let go and let God and go within, it's like Colleen was talking about it, that wall turns into a door, or at least a window, that there's a way to make it through. In Living the Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes said, there is an invisible presence hidden within us which has its source in a higher power, and which acts through our actions, wills through our minds, and reveals itself in what we are doing. Right? So God works through us. We're God's hands and eyes and heart and voice and feet in the world. That's how God expresses itself. It's not a God that's out there, right, separate from us, that we have to pray to in heaven to come down and bless us. It's a God that's here actively in us, through us, and as us, right? It's the very life force within us. I mean, when you get that, even when I get that, there are the days when I get it at an even deeper level, and it just takes my breath away. It's so amazing, right? In the book Living Without Fear, Ernest Holmes says, the history of man as a record of the awakening of the self to the self with a capital S, the emergence of the universal spirit through the individual mind, right? The self and the self. We are one with Spirit. So our work is to continue tilling the soil, evolving our consciousness, choosing our thoughts, our actions, and our experiences. We talk about it on Sundays. We have classes to help you learn to understand and apply the spiritual principles at a deeper level when people are ready. We have prayer support and spiritual coaching from our practitioners and ministers. Reverend Rick has begun serving as a chaplain, and he's had some, even though it hasn't been that long, he's had some amazing conversations and feels that he's found his place, his path, right? And so we bless him and for being a part of our center and having that ministry, right? Lives are changing here. We've been supporting each other. I've just seen things happen in our congregation as we each grow. Sometimes little steps, sometimes big steps, but we're growing together, supporting and loving each other. So it's through us that we demonstrate or express the divine intention. We become a conduit for the new ideas and actions that create a world that works for everyone. We go from that lesser idea of what the known is to something greater, something we may never have tried before. We were too afraid to say, oh, I could never do that. Well, guess what? It's not you alone. It's Spirit and everyone else in the world that is creating that. So you just have to do your part, be part of the team, right? So instead of being afraid, we can, I want to say go for broke, but that's not the right statement. But we can go for something higher and greater, because that is our destiny. That's what we're called to be, right? Live our values and beliefs out loud, right? Not just keep it in our heads, but put it in our hearts and our actions, right? Each of us is God's beloved son or daughter, a being that the one Creator has made from itself with great, tender, loving care. God relies on us to be its eyes, hands, and feet, its voice, its loving heart in the world. There's a minister named Henry Nouwen who wrote lots of books that has inspired many people. And in his book, Finding My Way Home, he told his readers, you are sent into this world to believe in yourself as God's chosen one, and then to help your brothers and sisters know that they also are the beloved sons and daughters of God who belong together. We belong together. We are one. And so, our center, we've also, we practice our gratitude in the practice of tithing as a center. And so every month the board decides where that tithe is going to go. And part of it we send to our parent organization, CSL, because they are inspiring and supporting us with classes. They're supporting the ministers and the practitioners with training and support groups and answering questions and all those kinds of things. And we contributed towards purchasing the retreat center up in Oregon, where the teens have met there in the past sometimes, and so they're going to be able to go there every year and have a place to meet, and adults can be there. It's a profitable organization, so we get to, we're inheriting that as well. And the owner decided to choose CSLs as the best vehicle to carry on his mission that he had with all of the mostly teens that were of all kinds of sports and camps that they had there. So, we're honored to be carrying on that tradition. And then also as a center, then we have supported, each month we choose a local organization that are helping people that particularly during this pandemic have found themselves hungry or homeless or needed some other kind of support. We've sent quite a bit to the Sierra Community House and their Project Manna, supporting the people that are hungry, and Tahoe Family Services. They have mental health and other kinds of things that they provide. And I know Shirley Nelson is one of the people that volunteers there. And the Boys and Girls Club, and we've contributed just recently to the community Thanksgiving that's going to be for people. So here in Kings Beach. So it's something where we have bounty and we're sharing it in gratitude and thanksgiving with the world. So in concluding, pulling all of this together, Ernest Holmes in his book 10 Ideas, he says, live always with enthusiasm. We exist so life may operate through us and express itself in us. We proclaim the divine presence as infinite joy, beauty, and wisdom, and have gratitude for it. We know the law of God, of good, is infinite in its capacity and willing to create anything that is good. And so in this time of Thanksgiving, we remember with gratitude that the divine presence, the law of good, is creating all the good that we are willing to receive. And we accept it with open and grateful arms. Let's take this to prayer. So in this time of Thanksgiving, we look back on our journey and celebrate our triumphs with joy and gratitude. We're grateful to know that the invisible presence of Spirit is with us all along, whether we see it or not, for it is always there within our hearts, waiting patiently, lovingly. And in all things we give thanks. In all things we see the presence of God, the infinite invisible that lives in, through, and as all of creation. We are one with God, one with each other in spirit. And today we live as the power, the joy, and the magnificence of God in dynamic demonstration, not just in our minds, but in our hearts and in demonstration. With gratitude and thanksgiving, I release my fears and worries. I embrace the spiritual truth of who I am, one with the one. With gratitude and thanksgiving, I acknowledge all the wonderful blessings in my life. I'm grateful that I am alive and happy and well. I am grateful that my relationships are loving and supportive, that I am able to give and receive love and caring, understanding, appreciation, and acceptance of people that are like me, that I attract, but also people that are unlike me, because I see within them that presence of God. the beauty within them that is a part of the rainbow. The red needs to have the purple and the yellow and the green. All of the colors are part of the one. I am grateful that all my needs are met bountifully without reservation. I am grateful that I am able to share my divine gifts and talents, time and treasure with my family, with my loved ones, through my work, with my spiritual center, with the world, with nature and its creations, its creatures, and with the actions that make the world a better place. I do my part with gratitude. I am grateful that I have time to be still and listen to the voice of Spirit within me. It's all around me and within my heart of hearts. I am grateful that my life manifests the divine love, peace, and joy and the wholeness that are the truth of my being and of each person that is here with us today and that is whose life is ever touched either directly or indirectly as our center's action ripple out into the world. We are a center for love and transformation in the world. All is well. All is good. And so as Thanksgiving approaches, I say, thank you, Spirit. Thank you. I am grateful that I know it, and I think it, and I believe it, and I accept it right here and right now. And as I release these words to the law of God, I know and celebrate that these words are manifested with joy by Spirit. All is well. And together we say, and so it is.